believe that the HIV virus came from the chimpanzees, from a virus called the simian immunodeficiency virus, SIV, the chimpanzee version of it. And it came from hunters located from the Cameroon and Congo, and it spread when the hunters used to slaughter or butcher the chimpanzees and monkeys, and the infected blood would seep through the cut, or the blood would splatter into the mouth. Sit back, relax, and learn from this exciting show. I'm Jessica Nyalungu, and this is Health Talk. To tell us a bit more about HIV and AIDS, we've got our guest, Antoinette Maseko. She's a phenomenal fifth-year student studying at DERZHAVIN University, and she's originally from South Africa. Welcome, Antoinette.
Thank you for having me.
Sub-Saharan Africa is known as the region with the most affected HIV rates. There are currently 7.7 million people in South Africa that are living with HIV today. The tropical areas, as well as the developing countries, are the most affected countries with HIV, and there are currently 50% of infected patients with HIV in hospitals. Antoinette, can you please tell me what is the difference between HIV and AIDS?
HIV, also known as human immune deficiency virus, is a virus that attacks the cell's immune system, such as T helper cells, dendritic cells, and macrophages, therefore causing the body to have decreased immune reactivity. And such, it can lead to a syndrome then called AIDS. AIDS is therefore a complication of HIV, which generally manifests as lethargy, malaise, weakness, and anorexia. So it's a syndrome.
So it's acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
Yes.
Okay. What is the difference between CD4 count and viral load?
Okay, CD4 count means in immunological terms it's called cluster of differentiation 4, which is a marker on the membrane of T helper cells, macrophages, and dendritic cells, which are immune cells that attack invading microbes. So those cells are therefore attacked by the HIV virus and therefore decreases them. So the normal one is usually between 500 to 1,500 cells per millimeter squared cubed.
Okay, so basically, in other words, the CD4 count detects how strong your immune system is.
Yes.
So the higher the CD4 count, the stronger the immune system. The lower the CD4 count, it means that you've got a weakened immune system.
Yes.
Okay.
And therefore, a viral load measures the amount of virus that is present in one drop of blood, and therefore that can tell you how much virus is in the person's body, in the blood. Yes.
Okay. If you are HIV negative and you have sexual intercourse with someone who is HIV positive, does that mean that you will get HIV?
Not necessarily. It all depends on the viral load of the person who is HIV positive. So sometimes the viral load can reach a limit called a non-detectable limit, and therefore an HIV negative person cannot contract HIV from an HIV positive person if it's in that case. So it's not always the case.
It's not always the case. So one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals aims to reduce and eradicate HIV by the year 2030, by the 90-90-90 rule. They aim that 90% of the people should know their HIV status, 90% of the people should take their HIV treatment, so the antiretroviral therapy, and 90% of the people should suppress their viral load. Speaking about HIV status, it is imperative for you to tell your partner, your sexual partner, about your HIV status according to the partner notification law that states that every person that you have sexual intercourse with has the right to know if you have HIV or not. Failure to do so is a criminal offense because it's unethical. Why is it difficult to destigmatize HIV?
I think it is difficult to destigmatize it due to the amount of people that have previously died from it, and there's a lot of stigma in the sense that when you have contracted HIV, they call it the death sentence. So people immediately think that they're going to die with it, which is not the case. There are people who have taken their treatment, eat healthy, exercise, and they live long, healthy lives. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. We are all equal, and we should treat each other as such.
And I think it also comes down to the educational background. Not everybody is educated about HIV, and I feel like you should know that it's not a death sentence, and you shouldn't judge other people who have it. Who is more vulnerable in getting HIV?
It is mostly the youth aged between 15 and 24 years of age, and it is mostly college students or varsity students which partake in recreational drug use and alcohol, which therefore leads to unprotected sex. It is also in poverty-stricken countries whereby there's a high sugar daddy going on, like sugar daddy relations, and it's also people who are victims of gender-based violence and people who basically use drugs and share needles.
And as well as prostitutes.
Prostitutes, yes.
Yeah. In what ways can HIV be transmitted?
HIV can be transmitted through unprotected sex via the bodily fluids, through blood, through mother to fetus, during childbirth through the placenta, or during a postpartum period during a breastfeeding, and also in people who use drugs and interchange injections.
Okay, as well as needle pricks, right?
Yes.
So since we're going to talk about that, how can you prevent the HIV from spreading then? For example, unprotected sex and all these things. How can you protect yourself?
In such cases, first and foremost, education is important. It is important to educate yourself about the risk factors and ways in which you can protect yourself, such as in case of having sexual relations using a condom, and in case of accidental exposure, directly reporting it to your healthcare worker, and in case of mother to child, it's important to test it early, be it found, and then proceed about the best way to deliver, and to detect the viral load in HIV positive mother so that it's not transmitted to the fetus.
Okay. So with a needle prick, what can you do?
In case someone has sustained a needle prick, rather let the blood flow, and also run the finger underwater for some time so that it washes through. But it's important not to press on it, let it run, and also it's important for you to take PEP, yes,
which is a
post-exposure prophylaxis, and to get tested to know your status.
So how rare is it to get a needle prick, to get HIV from a needle prick?
It's extremely rare. I think it's about 1 in 300. Yes, it's quite a small margin.
Okay. So there are associated opportunistic diseases that come with HIV.
Yeah.
So this means that the immune system becomes weakened. What are the various types of opportunistic diseases that are associated with HIV?
To name a few, it can be TB, can be fungal infections, meningitis, pneumonia. Those are the most prevalent opportunistic diseases.
How can we increase awareness?
Firstly is by education. Educate, start young. Primary schools, high schools, educating the youth, and also our old people who cannot read and write on their own. Going out there and educating people whenever they have doctor's visits, explaining and de-stigmatize HIV is very important.
And I also think we should put stricter laws in terms of when somebody has HIV, they should tell their sexual partners, and it should be illegal for you to know, if you know your status and you are HIV positive, and you know exactly that you're HIV positive, and you still sleep with someone that is HIV negative, I feel like it's wrong. Rules should be implemented. Rules should be implemented also for old people that are taking our young high school girls and sleeping with them. So I think those rules should be very strict. Somebody has just been violated, sexually violated, and they don't know if the stranger has HIV or not. So what steps can they take in case that person has HIV?
Okay, the first step is to immediately go to your nearest hospital and report it, and therefore take an HIV test, and then within 24 hours take a post-exposure prophylaxis, preferably 24 hours. The latest is 72 hours. So those are the relevant steps to take.
So that's a combination of tenofovir and amitriptyline.
Yeah.
So they are antiretroviral therapy to combat or to stop the HIV from the viral load from increasing.
Yes.
Okay. What is a antiretroviral therapy?
Antiretroviral therapy, also called ART, is basically a medication or which you take in order to reduce the amount of viral load that you have in your body. So it's an antiviral, and basically it's just a treatment to lower the viral load.
Okay. So Antoinette, is there a cure for HIV? A cure for HIV?
Unfortunately, in present time, there hasn't been a cure found. However, scientists are working tirelessly towards finding a cure and also a vaccine. So, hopefully in the near future.
In the near future.
Yes.
Do you think we have made great strides in combating HIV and AIDS today?
Yes, I think we have. There has been a significantly reduced number of deaths caused by the HIV pandemic. So I think we have made strides. We have been educating people. People have been getting tested, and hopefully the 1990 rule by 2030 actually is fulfilled. Yes.
And I think people can live with it.
Yes.
So they can make babies,
Yes.
they can live a long life as long as they take their treatments, they eat healthy, they exercise. I feel like they can actually live.
Yes.
And it's not something to be ashamed of.
No. Not
Well, there we have it. Thank you very much, Antoinette, for joining us and educating us on HIV and AIDS. You did a very good job, and I hope that everybody heard what you said and takes those rules into implementation. Thank you very much for keeping in tune with us. I hope you subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in our next episode. Take care.